Okay, my outstanding friends, this sheds a whole new light on things. I am trying to figure out eternity. I want to get into eternity in the right way. And I think there is a good way and a bad way. So I've been really trying to study, how did this all start? This is Sumerians, which had multiple deities, and apparently the Sumerians created humanity to serve them. That's what they say. Now, this is what the shared motifs between the Sumerian and biblical text. There is some, but they say the biblical narratives represent a unique theology and portrayal of human nature, reflecting originality rather than simply borrowing from the Mesopotamian myths. And they claim that while there are superficial similarities between the Sumerians and later biblical creation of the accounts, modern scholars generally agree Sumerian myths were not a direct source for the Bible. And they call everything a myth. Well, I'm done with the myth nonsense. A lot of this stuff was true and it actually did happen. I can't verify everything, validate all of that stuff. But as I step down through it, the gods that were here when Christ was here were the last of the segmented gods. And Mars was killed. Mars, the planet, who is also Mars the god, was killed by Jesus Christ, who I believe was Venus. I'm going to go through this in a little bit more detail, but I'm giving you the guts of the whole thing right now. You got the Sumerians. They came here for whatever reason. There's all kinds of stories about coming here to get gold and all of this and that. But they created humanity to serve them. Then you get into the Egyptians, which is the next set of layer of civilization. And they had their own gods, Amun-Ra and so forth, which are not quite the same as the Sumerians. And then you go from the Egyptians down to the Greeks. They started with Jupiter and Mars and all that stuff. They had different names for them. The Greeks, Mars was Ares, and Jupiter was Zeus, or the other way around, whatever. They had certain names for them. And then when you get down to the Christ era, Jesus was born from the feared god Jupiter. That's what it says in the ancient text. Who is Zeus? It swung around a couple of times, hit Earth and wiped out the giants, which was the plan. And then it hit Mars and wiped it completely out. Destroyed Mars. Mars has no life whatsoever. And the god of Mars continued on. He didn't just go nowhere. These gods are forever. So he went down and took up residence in Rome and became the god of Rome. All right, so Mars was their god. And he came down and he protected them. They loved him. All the other ones hated Mars and Jupiter both. Because they were, well, Jupiter was the god of gods. It gets kind of confusing. Let's just go with Mars was destroyed by Venus, who was born from Jupiter, who was Zeus, and actually crashed right into Mars, killed the planet totally, and the owner of that planet, who was God, the god Mars, the god of war, came down and took up residence in Rome and became their protector and their god, and then decided he'd take over the whole world. That's why the Roman conquest of the world. And they were the ones that ended up crucifying Christ. And then you have the Nag Hammadi texts and the Dead Sea Scrolls, which talk about a whole new discussion of religion and these gods and so forth. And Jesus said, I didn't come here to bring peace. I didn't come here to create peace. I came here to burn this world to the cinder. I came here to destroy this world because this world is corrupt, it's destroyed, and I'm going to take 144,000 people and start over again. And he talks about closing that door. When there's 144,000 are done and they have realized and come on board, the door closes. You come up and knock for a month, stay out. You're done. You didn't come early enough, you're out. I would say start looking now. Because when I started putting all this together, there is some death is not the end, I don't think. There's something else, and there's a good something else, and then there's a bad something else. And you really got to do some work if you want to find out that good something else. It's not going to just just give the guy everything. Let's have him have a good eternity. No. You don't search for that eternity and open that door and find those keys and dig deep. You're done. And I mean done. When I say done, that's not a good thing, because you're still going to be somewhere and it's not going to be a good place. That's what I found. You make your own determination. Okay, my outstanding friends, another shocker du jour, not meant to offend anybody. Now, I am just saying, let's think about this and read some of the ancient texts and talk about the planet Venus. From Velikovsky's account, it was the Venus that destroyed Mars. It impacted with Mars, and we can see those scars very visible today. They weren't when Velikovsky wrote about it. He didn't know about those scars, but he did say, this is what the ancient text said, there was basically a collision. His book was called Worlds in Collision. And that's how we had the Great Flood for us, and Mars was destroyed. And basically at that exact time, Mars was dead. It got hit. Bang, done, case closed from Venus. And at that point, Mars, the actual god, at that exact date, shows up in Rome and says, I'm going to be the patriarch, I'm going to take care of you people, I'm going to protect you, I'm your god now. Because he apparently had nowhere else to go. So he shows up in Rome, and then Rome, as a warring nation, just tried to conquer the world. And he is the god of war. All right, all you guys that know me, I know that I look into all the ancient texts, all of the writers, Hesiod, Ovid, Apollodorus, Plato, all of them. And I find truth in all of them, in the Bible, the Quran, every one of them. All of the texts from South America, every one of them. And Velikovsky put it all together in one great package called Worlds in Collision. And I got a lot of my information from there. But then I actually found the physical evidence to support the claims and the statements he was making, and all of the people throughout history made. Now, it eventually led to Jesus Christ. And I think Jesus, the way it's looking to me right now, is Venus, is the planet Venus. And Venus killed Mars. That's what every culture on Earth said, the same thing. The fiery comet Venus smashed into Mars and wiped it out. And you can see the scars. I've shown them. What does that mean in the great scheme of things? Well, it's going to get down to Zeus, who is God of gods. Is he still the God of gods now? I don't know. But prior to that, it was Kronos, who was his father. It seems to always go father to son. And so let's take a look at what it's talking about. As Jesus, in the Bible, it says right here, they identified in Bible verse, identifying Jesus as the morning star. Revelations 22:16 states, I, Jesus, have sent my angel to give you this testimony for the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David and the bright and morning star. This title, also known as the day star or Lucifer, is some translations of Isaiah 14:12. And he is the bringer of light and the hope of a new day. Well, Mars was the god of war, and they claim he was brutal and savage and nasty and all the worst things. That's what the Greeks said about him. Now, once in 800 BC or so, Venus hit Mars and wiped it out. And then all of a sudden, 800 BC or so, Mars, the actual god, shows up in Rome to have Romulus and Remus. And then that's how Rome started. And then they went about to conquest the whole world. He was a god of war. And they loved him because he was very protective. He was very authoritative. But he was loved because he was their god. Now, who was he going out to conquer? Were those the other gods that were thrown to earth, the other angels that had taken up residence here and there? I'm not sure, but they were districts that were run by other patriarchs, or whatever you want to call them. They were the ones that looked after the people, and they were probably the gang leaders, basically. So, and then he went about to conquer them all and put them all under one dome. That's what it looks like to me. All right, so I take into consideration every word that was written about this. Now they're talking about way in the past. In ancient Greek, the morning star was called Phosphorus, which means dawn bringer. The Latin name for the morning star was Lucifer. The morning star, Lucifer. And Jesus said, that's who I am, the morning star. It also means light bringer, and he is the light bringer. This gets a little confusing, but let's stick with what is stated in the Latin. The morning star was Lucifer. All right, just to save time, I mean, this is quite long, but the gospel of truth is joy to those who have received from the Father of truth, which is Jesus Christ, for the gift of knowing him by the power of the Logos, which is just logically thinking. Logos is logical thinking, and has come from the Pleroma, who is in the thought and mind of the Father, which is who is called the Savior, since that is the name of the work which he must do for the redemption of those who have not known the Father. That's enough for now. This is the gospel of truth. This is from the Nag Hammadi library, which is very extensive and was kept hidden and only discovered in 1945, along with the Dead Sea Scrolls in that same area. And these were never known, and they were never uncovered, and they were never messed around with, and they were still in very good shape, and they were hidden away because they were going to be destroyed, so nobody even knew they existed. There was only one other, I think, copy at that particular time, and it was I don't know if it was a whole thing. It was called a Berlin Codex. But these were very, very well kept. Now, so this is the gospel of truth. Now there's the gospel of Thomas, which we should go through. It's just the secret sayings the living Jesus spoke, and Judas Didymus Thomas recorded. And it says, whoever discovers the interpretation of these sayings will not taste death. Interpretation doesn't mean you have to know exactly. Interpretation is your interpretation, but you have to discover your interpretation. That's how I'm taking that, because you can't understand all of it. There's nobody in the world ever. Jesus said, those who seek should not stop seeking until they find. Now, he's not saying, if you want to seek, you don't want to seek. Basically, he's saying to me, you should seek, and you should not stop seeking until you find. When they find, they will be disturbed. When they are disturbed, which is, I'm sure you're going to be disturbed by the time I'm done here. They will marvel, and I'm absolutely sure you're going to marvel. And they will reign over all, whatever that means. And ever after they have reigned, they will rest. Know what is in front of your face. What is hidden from you will be disclosed to you. There is nothing hidden that will not be revealed, and nothing buried that will not be raised. And then it goes on to talk about the world being a corpse, the world being a body. We are made of light. We are made of light, and we want to return to the light. And it's a crazy, crazy, crazy saying, some of it. Like Jesus said, I have cast fire upon the world, and look, I'm guarding it until it blazes. I mean, it goes on and on and on. These are very, very deep words that sometimes there's just no explanation for. Jesus said, perhaps people think I have come to cast peace upon the world. They do not know that I have come to cast conflicts upon the earth, fire, sword, and war. Yikes. For there will be 5 in a house. There will be 3 against 2, and 2 against 3. Father against son, because this is how it always was, the father against the son, and son against the father, and they will stand alone. I don't know. Anyway, this, like I say, this is extremely deep. And then there's Pistis Sophia. Whoops, that's the truth. And there's this one. I think this is Pistis. Yeah, the Sophia. This is deep. Because Jesus came back after he rose from the dead. He came back, and his 12 disciples, 7 women, continued to be his followers, I believe, for 11 years. And he showed back up, and that's when Doubting Thomas put his fingers in him just to make sure it was true. And he showed up as just total light, and then he converted back into a human form, I believe. That's how I'm reading this. And he discoursed with them. They asked him all kinds of questions. He said, anything you ask me, I'll answer. And he goes on and on and on. He answered this. Mary said to him, Lord, how will we know that, whatever this is about? But they ask in detail. They want to know the details. How was man revealed? I mean, it's very, 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 very deep. What's this one? This is the 6th book of Pistis Sophia, chapter 148. I don't know. What else we got here? All right, this is the first book, Pistis Sophia, chapter 1. Came to pass, and Jesus arisen from the dead. He passed 11 years discoursing with his disciples, instructing them only up to the regions of the first commandment and up to the regions of the first mystery. Well, how far have we gone? I think we've gone up into the mysteries of where Jesus came from, and I think he was born from Zeus. And within that veil, there's a veil over these things. Within the first commandment, which is the 4 and 20th mystery, without and below, those 4 and 20, which are in the second space of the first mystery, which is before all mysteries, the Father in the form of a dove. These are the kind of things. How can you understand that? I can't. You know, next chapter, I mean, it goes on and on. It's chapter 2. Anyway, what do we got here? This is chapter 125. Considerable lacuna occurs in the next text. Lacuna means things are missing. They don't have everything. But here it is. Now therefore, who hath ears to hear, let him hear. I mean, there's a lot of this stuff. This is very, very similar words to the Bible. And apparently Jesus came back as just a glowing beam of light. And he stayed for 11 years. You know, this is kind of crazy, but people say, oh, what are you going to do about all this? You're just saying all these things. Well, yes, but there is an eternity now. I'm pretty sure of it. Now, the Savior, who was Jesus, answered his disciples, and he said, herald unto the whole world, and say to men, strive that ye may receive the mysteries of the light in this time of affliction. Because at that time, they were being persecuted. And enter into the light kingdom. Join not one day to another, or one circuit to another, hoping ye may succeed in receiving the mysteries, if ye come into the world in another circuit. In other words, seek for the mysteries of the light. And these are in quotations here. He says, and these know not when the number of perfect souls will be at hand. Apparently the perfect soul you have to seek. For if the number of perfect souls shall be at hand, I will now shut the gates of the light, and you won't be able to come. And no one from that hour onward will enter in, nor will anyone hereafter go forth. So you're in. For the number of perfect souls is completed, and the mystery of the first mystery is completed. So we got to have a new beginning. Basically, that's what it is. For the sake of which the universe hath arisen. That is, I am that mystery. Jesus appears to say he's that mystery, and we have to fulfill that mystery by being 144,000 perfect souls. And he knows when it's going to happen. He shuts the gates, case is closed. You're in there, and you're behind the gates of light. Now, and from this hour onwards, no one will be able to enter into the light, and no one be able to go forth. For at the completion of the time of the number of perfect souls, before I have set fire to the world. So he needs to start over and set fire to the rest of the world, in order that it may purify the aeons and the veils and the firmaments and the whole earth, and also all the matters which are on it. Mankind, and then it says, will be still existing. At that time, then, the faith will reveal itself still more in the mysteries in those days, and many souls will come by means of the circuits of change of the body. And coming back into the world are some of those in this present time, who have hearkened unto me, how I taught, who at the completion of the number of the perfect souls will find the mysteries of the light and receive them, and come to the gates of light and find that number of perfect souls is complete. So you might find you finally found it, but as you come up there, you're not going to be able to come in. You waited too long. So it says the light receive them and come to the gates of light and find that the number of perfect souls is complete, which is the completion of the first mystery. And the gnosis, these are Gnostic texts. The knowing, gnosis means knowledge, and the knowledge of the universe. That's what we're talking about here. This is the knowledge of the universe. And they will find that I have shut the gates of the light, and that it is impossible that anyone should enter in, or that anyone should go forth from that hour, this hour. Now maybe it's already done, I don't know. Those souls then will knock at the gates of light, saying, Lord, open unto us. And I will answer unto them, I know you not, whence ye are. And they will say unto me, we have received the mysteries, and fulfilled thy whole teaching, and thou hast taught us on the high. Well, where they were too low for a long time. So they taught us on the high ways. And I will answer and say unto them, I know you not, who ye are, ye who are doers of iniquity or evil, even unto now. Wherefore go into outer darkness, And from that hour they will go into outer darkness, where there is howling and grinding of teeth. So for this cause, then, herald unto the whole world, and say unto them, strive thereafter to renounce the whole world, which so far I found this is nothing. I renounce basically everything. Renounce the whole world and the whole matter therein, that ye may receive the mysteries of the light before the number of perfect souls is completed, in order that they may not make you stop before the gates at the light, and lead you away into outer darkness. Now therefore, who hath ears to hear, let him hear. Now it just goes on and on and on, but I'm going with this now. At this point, I'm going with it. This Pistis Sophia, there's so much to this. This is chapter 125.